Morning, morning, morning. I had to see, was it good morning or afternoon, whichever one you had to see right there.
I just spoke to Gerard about the sort of the act of establishing your personality as a coach. I know, as you get promoted, you're more in the spotlight, but how do you establish like who you want to be, how you want to lead your team, how you want to improve your team?
Well, for me, I'm the same every day. So, when I showed up here, call it in 2017, I'm the same today. Obviously, I done grown in different areas, but I try to be consistent on a day-to-day basis, which provide the players some consistency. So for me, that's kind of how I look at it. I'm just I'm not trying to be anybody else. I try to lead my life through, the way I do things, through my actions, through my words, and hopefully that carry on to the players, really on the field and off the field. That's kind of how I do. How they see me on a day-to-day basis, how they see me with my family, how they see me with my wife, how they see me with my kids, how they see me on the practice field. And so hopefully the way I lead my life is a good example of my character and how I am and how I want them to be and represent themselves.
As you expand your role, how have you? I know you're saying you stay the same, but if you have to do more, what's that been like for you? Just like thinking more globally about the team, or more than one position group, and so on.
It's great. I talked to the players today about comfort. The ability to be uncomfortable doing things. So, like I've been, a position coach here, and really, other than a co-coordinator in college, this is my first time being a coordinator. And so you have to go through growth pains, and you have to go through things. You have to be uncomfortable, all right, to get comfortable. And I talked to them about that, making sure that we, try to thrive and not be comfortable. And that's how I am, and that's how I want our players to be, operate on thriving every day, and then the easy stuff will come later.
Someone who was singled out by Jared Mayo a second ago was Keon White.
Yep.
Having that jump from year one to year two. Can you just expand a little bit upon what you've seen from him, and if you have those kind of same feelings?
Yeah, I think every guy who's going into that second year is trying to take that leap from their rookie year, and he's done a great job. He came in shape, from the off season. He's done a good job of showing here every day. I talked to him about three things: showing up, being present, and staying consistent. And he's done all three, on an everyday basis. He's been consistent for us. And as long as he do that for us, he'll be fine, So he's not worried about the other things, not worried about, the future. He's trying to stay present every day. He's showing up, being present, staying consistent, and he's working hard, all right, which is what we want from our players. And so couldn't be proud of him by the way he's doing so far.
DeMarcus, yep. Did Elliot Wolf really apologize to you for drafting so many offensive players?
Yeah, yeah. So that right after that, he talked to me about that. But obviously, this is a team, deal. It's not offense. It's not defense. It's how do we win as a team? What do we need to do to win as a team? And that's what we do. And so that's the way direction that we went. And obviously, the best defense is when you're on the sideline.
Christian Barmore said earlier, I think it was last week, that might play more 4 down. Do you envision a different role for Christian this season?
I would say, envision a different role. I mean, who knows? We're sitting here at, in May. It's a lot of things that we got to do: practice, games, preparing. It's hard to say what exactly he's going to do, what anybody is going to do at this moment. I know one thing, that we're trying to work on our fundamentals and technique. We're trying to work on our communication as a defense. We're trying to work on being together. We're trying to work on making sure that we understand the whole defense, from a run game, pass game, as an awareness standpoint, all that stuff as a unit. And then, all the other stuff will fall where they need to fall. Who's out there, who's doing what, all right? And we're still in the phase of, you guys still go out there and do it, all right? That's, what we've done in the past, what I've done in the past, what other players done in the past, what other coaches done in the past, where you come from. That really doesn't matter right now. It's what we're doing right now.
When it comes to play calling and calling the defense yourself, I'm just curious, how do you kind of practice that? It's a long way away before games, but it's the first time doing that, I think.
You practice it on the practice field, in the meeting room. All right, the best thing is really what we have is practice. That's when you actually can get game reality out here. And so that's the best form of it. And then you do it through situational cut-ups, working with with our staff, our defensive staff, and then working through different things like that. And you just gain those practice reps, whether it's in the film room, all right, or whether it's on here on the practice field. That's why I like practice so much, because you just like the players. They're out there learning. They're out there doing their deal. They're out there getting their reps. We're, as coaches, we're doing the same thing. It's a new year for us. It's a new staff for us. So we're gelling together. We're trying to get our stuff right. I'm out there trying to get my eyes right. I'm trying to make sure I'm doing the right thing to put our defense in the right situations and stuff like that. So it's not just the players out there is doing, practicing. It's us too, as we're getting our reps too as coaches, working together, all right, and trying to gel this whole defense together. Yeah, so I was a co-defensive coordinator in college. Coach Belichick gave me a lot of opportunities to do that in the past, whether that's blue white game, Senior Bowl type stuff, preseason type stuff, practice type stuff with basic. So he gave me a lot of opportunities in the past to do those things. And then again, this has been an organization that's about growth and development, and so I took advantage of all those opportunities in the past, and which allowed me to have some growth and be ready for this opportunity now.
Coach, there's been a lot of talk about evolution for your defense. I was wondering, what does that look like for you, and also how does the continuity you have on the roster and the coaching staff kind of help you take whatever that next level is for you?
Yeah, for me, I think about players and not plays. So how can we use our players the best way? How can we use our strength to the best of our ability, and how can we execute on a day-to-day basis, all right, by the stuff that our players do well. And then once we figure out what our players do well, and we put them in the right positions by the calls. So that's kind of how I see it, and not just calling out a whole bunch of things, but trying to use our players and use their strengths, all right, and making sure we do what they do best and let them go out there and play and be dominant, aggressive, physical, fundamentals, discipline, all those things. That's kind of what we're looking for, all right, and a consistent basis with good communication.
Do you feel as though, we were kind of joking earlier, you guys didn't take many defensive players in the draft, but does that in some way speak to the expectations that you guys have on that side of the ball, and how do you deal with our pretty high expectations? It's been a good defense for a number of years now consecutively here. Yeah,
I think that speaks to the players where, last year we had a lot of injuries and we had good depth. So, and we're getting a lot of those guys back. And so on top of the depth that we built last year, so I would say we had a good amount of players that are, good starters, good rotational players, good backups. And that's great for us. So, for me and our defense, we like that. All right, that's a good problem to have, where it's a good amount of good competition at every single position. There's good competition, and we'll like to see how it plays out during the spring, during training camp. And really, it goes back to what I talked about earlier. You can't be comfortable. So because there's somebody there that's right there trying to earn that starting role who probably was starting last year, all right? And you can't just think that you're going to start or can't think that you're just going to do this. There's somebody always knocking on the door, players and coaches. So we always have to have that, that day-to-day mentality of where I got to get better every single day, players and coaches. So that helps manage the expectations of what you're talking about.
For you personally, do you want to manage those expectations, or do you talk to these guys like, hey, we expect to be a really good defense? The standard is, what we've done the last few years. Are you starting from scratch and you want to keep expectations,
Absolutely.
minimized?
I talk about standards anyway. I think talk about standards with our players, all right, standards in how we operate, standards in how we live our life, standards as a character. I come from where it's all about like how you present and what you do, and what you say. That's the way you live your life. That's where I come from, where that's kind of where I end up with our players and making sure that we know exactly what we want and we paint that picture clean for them. Position coaches paint it clean for them. Gerard paint it clear for us, and then we make sure they go out there and do that.
Two final questions, guys. Gonzalez this offseason, obviously coming into the second year, everything like that.
He's done everything we asked him to do, as far as from last year with the injury, the rehab, and then now here. He's done everything we asked him to do, and he's doing everything he can to get 100% wherever he needs to be for us to help us win.
What's the biggest
challenge or the hardest part that to yourself translate or develop from a position coach to the defensive coordinator?
That's a good question. I think, every day, I'm trying to make sure that I do everything I need to do to make us be successful, and knowing that everything is not going to be perfect. So really it's just learning from day to day, all right, making sure I don't make the same mistake twice. And I think for me, as long as I lead the men, coaches and players, making sure that we're operating in one accord and that we put a good product out there on the field, all right, I think it'll go a long way. So that's where it is. I don't have all the answers. I don't, but I'm gonna make sure I find out the right answer. If I don't have all the answers. And one of the things with me is not all about me. We have a great staff. All right, so it's all of us together. I might be named the defensive coordinator, but it's a defensive staff that's going to come up with the game plan, and it's a defensive staff that's going to go out there and who's going to put it together and provide it to the players. I'll just be the one calling it. All right, and so it's not just me out there. All right, you can look at our defensive staff, which I would say we got a great staff who's do a great job every day and helping our players, be successful. Yep, appreciate it. Thanks.